Soundstripe. Soundstripe.
Hey everyone, it's Q here. Thanks for coming to my channel. I want you to do me just a small favor. If you could, if you can, if you will, if you please, go ahead and like, comment, and hit the notification bell if you have not. Subscribe to the channel and come on back because I got a lot of good things to show you. Today, what we are going to do is I'm going to show you how to start your buckets. If you are a bucket gardener, I'm going to show you how to start your buckets. I'm going to do it two ways. First way is your traditional bucket that you're just going to create some drainage and you're going to fill your bucket, and that's what you're going to garden in. And then the second way is the wicking way. So I am going to create my version of a wicking bucket, and it's my favorite way to do it. I've done it a couple different ways. This way for me is the easiest, and it is the easiest to maintain as well. So all you are going to need in order to make the wicking bucket is a PVC pipe right here. I have a 1/2 inch PVC pipe, and I have a 1/2 inch hole saw with a 3-inch hole saw. You're going to need a cup or something to basically be the wick that goes that brings the moisture up into the rest of the bucket. And you're going to need a drill or something to make your holes in your bucket. So why don't we go ahead and get started? Okay, so we are going to do your traditional bucket. No real engineering needed, except you have to drill holes into your bucket. Now, I got these from the Home Depot, and I'm going to tell Home Depot kudos, because these are some good buckets. It takes a power drill to get holes in these bad boys. But as you can see, I put a bunch of holes in the bottom just so that there can be some drainage, and I also added some holes on the side. The worst thing you can do is have a waterlogged bucket where we are gonna have our roots rotting and all that. That's really all you have to do with this particular style. So there's no real engineering that needs to happen. But I try to do the lasagna method where you layer certain materials in your bucket. When you're gardening in the ground, you've got layers under the soil, you've got bedrock, and you've got subsoil, and you've got a lot of minerals that are coming up to the surface, and they are giving nutrients to the soil and to your plant. But you don't have that in a bucket. You just got a bucket. So I like to do some organic materials, and I do that again in a lasagna pattern. So I just layer. First layer I always use is dried sticks and twigs. Other people have used cardboard or paper, and I'm not against it as long as you know that cardboard or paper is sustainable cardboard and paper, because as we know, in this age of technology, there are other ways to make paper and cardboard that is not a natural organic substance. So if you cannot tell whether or not that cardboard or paper has been engineered in some other way other than a natural way, don't use it. right, so we've got our sticks and twigs, and now I'm going to do my absolute favorite because they are all over the place, dried leaves. All right. So this soil is just a nice mix of a lot of different things. I fortify my soil also with earthworm castings. Earthworm castings is my favorite form of fertilizer because it's a slow release. It is not as harsh. Cow manure, horse manure, those things can have some pretty harsh pesticides and things that are in there just based on, if they're eating grass that has fertilizers in it that are chemical fertilizers. I don't know what's in there, so I use the earthworm casting. If you have a worm bin, then your worms are just expelling this from, in their poop. It's basically worm poop is what worm castings are. And I'm also going to add, since I have it, because I'm going to use some of this in my wicking bucket, I am going to add some coconut coir. Coconut coir is excellent for drainage, absorption. So that's the thing that I'm going to use in my for my wicking buckets when we talk about that in a second. But it's just like this, coconut coir. And it's just basically part of the husk in coconuts. See, isn't that pretty? It's a beautiful color. But there is a big move to do soilless gardening, and a lot of people are using coconut husk or coconut coir as their medium, as the thing that they do in soilless gardening. Now, I haven't done enough research to completely go soilless just yet, because I don't know whether or not, if you have a garden that only has coconut coir, will that invite earthworms? Because in my opinion, earthworms are the best thing to happen to a garden. But so I just fortified the soil with a little earthworm castings and also some coconut coir. There's also some peat moss in here, some vermiculite, a little bit of perlite. I don't see a lot of perlite because you'll always see the perlite because you got those little white balls. But what we're doing now, excuse the close-up, I'm just adding soil into the bucket. Okay, so we have our soil in our bucket, and depending on whether or not you've got deep root systems, if you're planting something with a deep root system, this may be enough soil for you. I don't know exactly what you're planting, but you can plant pretty much anything in a bucket. Tomatoes and cucumbers are excellent in a bucket. What else? You've got beans, like beans, anything that grows on a vine is excellent in a bucket. But you can pretty much grow anything in a bucket these days. You can grow leafy greens in a bucket. So if you are bucket gardening, I have just shown you one way to fill your bucket. Okay, now I've seen this done in many ways. What we're doing is a wicking bucket, and the wicking bucket is a mechanism where there is some kind of reservoir in the bottom of your bucket that will feed up to the soil, and it will water your plant at the root. Now, if you're using a bucket or something that's this deep, a lot of times um, your soil can be really compacted, and so when you're watering, it's going to take a whole lot of water in order to penetrate down to the roots. So the 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 whole purpose of a wicking bucket is to allow for there to be some kind of water that is going up to the the root instead of going down into the soil and hoping that it reaches the root. Okay, so and it also prevents root rot because you're not using so much water to actually get into that root where it just kind of sits there and, you know, vacillates. So I've seen this done on, many different types of ways. There are some ways where someone will take something like a milk jug, put it in the bottom of the 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 thing, and they have a pipe coming down so that they can add water into the jug, and then it comes, it feeds that way. There's holes in the milk jug. There's also things like this where you take a this is just a drain pipe. It's like a 3-inch drain pipe, I believe, and that's at the bottom. That serves as your reservoir, and you can then put a PVC pipe, just put a hole in the PVC pipe that goes down, and then the water, you can actually put water into the bucket through the pipe, right? I am doing it a slightly different way. I am doing a 2-bucket system. So I will have this bucket that only has one hole, and that one hole is just to drain out the excess. But I've got this bucket here, and what I've done here is I have made a 3-inch hole here, a 1/2-inch hole here. The 3-inch hole is going to house my cup. What did I do with my cup? Here it is. So I just took this cup, and it's a regular McDonald's cup. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, but it does have to be something that's not like a paper cup or something that's going to deteriorate. So the plastic it'll do. I've even seen it done with, the little red backyard barbecue cups. We can do that too. But I put some holes in the bottom, and I also just put some holes here so that we can have a little bit of seepage into the cup. What I'm doing is now taking my cup, and I'm going to place it into the bottom of the 3-inch hole here, right? Looks like that. So what happens is when I place it into the bucket, that's where this is going to come in. I'm going to water my bucket through the PVC pipe, and that's going to fill the bottom of the bucket. So now that the cup is in the bucket, it wicks up, and it then feeds everything coming up to get to the root. I hope that makes sense, because I hope I don't have to repeat it. I just want to make it as simple as possible. But the reason that I'm using a 2-bucket system is because when you have a reservoir that's filled with soil, in my mind, there could be something wrong with the reservoir. Something could have gone into your PVC pipe, because there is a hole, something, some kind of a little invader could have gone down in there and just infested the entire reservoir. If I have a question with my reservoir, all I have to do is lift the second bucket. I can clean it. It doesn't have to be a lot of murky mildew at the bottom of the bucket, because where there is water, there can be murky mildew, right? So I can clean this out, and I have a little bit of control over what goes into the bucket, what comes out of the bucket. And if I need to change out the bucket, I can do that as well. That's why I use a 2-bucket system. But let's start to fill this bad boy, and I'll show you how I do that as well. And as I was saying, we've got our holes, and we've got the hole that's gonna house the cup and the hole that's gonna house the PVC pipe. We also have one hole here. Now, when I place the bucket inside the bucket, I can see, just because this bucket you can see through. And that's another important thing. You want to make sure that you can actually see where the bucket stops, because you're gonna have to place a hole. So my bucket is stopping right here at this dark line. You can't see it from this lighting. That's a little bit better. So here's my bucket right here, and here's my hole. The reason that I didn't place the hole directly at the line is because I want to drain out and have just a little bit of air inside the bucket. So because this is sort of to the bottom, if you have a taller bucket, a shorter bucket inside a taller bucket, maybe you have a little more space, but I don't have a whole lot of space. So I did about a 1/2 inch under the line of the bucket, because I need some air, because you want a little bit of air. You don't want just a bucket that has no air. You want a little bit of air to so that nothing gets waterlogged, and that's very important. So here again, you place your cup into the bucket there. Now I'm not going to cut, actually I am going to cut that cup. I need to cut that cup just a little bit, because as it wicks up, you want it right above this line, the line where the bucket line is what I want to call it. You want it right above there, but as long as you are not cutting into where you made these longer holes, you'll be good. So I need to do that, because I didn't do that. The cup is just a little too tall, and I want to cut that off. Oh my goodness, I love my life. I actually cut this cup way too short. And look at this. There's actually no room. That's the very thing that I was trying to avoid. But all is not lost. See? It goes right through it. So, I was able to improvise, and I have another cup. This cup actually fits exactly how I want it to fit in here. So, you see, it goes down, and as it goes down, these slits on the side are going to open up and do what they are supposed to do. So, here's what I'm going to do now. I'm just going to fill this with some coconut coir, and that, again, you can use, if you just have soil, it's fine just to use soil. Peat moss also works, but from what I understand, peat moss sometimes turns black and mildewy. I don't know, it just, something about that doesn't seem right to me. But this is about enough. Let me just put a little bit more. Okay, so we've got our coconut coir, and as long as your slits don't go up to where the top of the thing. As you put it down, these are going to open up. Oh, as you put it down, your slits are going to open up, and they're going to allow moisture in. So actually this worked out perfectly, because this is the perfect size cup for this particular bucket. So that's what we're doing there. Then you place your PVC pipe here. And if you notice, I added a few more holes into the bucket. I think I only had maybe 4 at the time. And that's the construction of the bucket. You can water the reservoir through here. Now, since we're doing the 2 bucket system, you actually could just lift the bucket and put the water in. It's up to you. And then you're going to have the drainage hole on the second bucket, so that there is some drainage, so that there's not too much water in the bucket at any time. And then, you know, like, you can eyeball it, you can see how much water you've got instead of playing a guessing game. Or, you know, sometimes you've got someone who does the 1 bucket system. They may have like a little thing that goes inside of here, and it bobs up and down, and it tells them, they put markings on the, you know, it could be a swizzle stick. I don't know exactly what it is, but, you know, they can put something down here that bobs, and as it goes down, that tells them that there's not enough water in the reservoir. If you do the 1 bucket system, you can do it that way as well. So this bucket is ready to fill. Now, I am only going to fill this bucket with my compost mix and the coconut coir, because I don't want to add the organic materials to this, because it's going to defeat the purpose of wicking up into the soil. So I'm not going to fill this bucket with organic materials. It still works very well, because I have very well fortified composted soil. So it's going to work. So it'll work. So, and also one thing, make sure that you know where your handle is, because when you put this in and then you're going to put that soil in, you're going to have to know exactly where your handle is. Now, if you do it the other way, if your handle is over here and your pipe is here, it's always going to be in the way. It's always going to be in the way. So always make sure you know where that handle is before you fill your bucket. So give me 1 second. I'm going to come right back. I'm going to fill this bucket. Well, guys, there you have it. We've got 2 nice happy buckets. One is a wick. One is our regular run-of-the-mill bucket. Both are filled with nice composted, healthy, modified, fortified, energized soil, and they are ready to be planted in. Well, I hope this video was helpful to you. I had a lot of fun doing this. I want to thank you for coming to my channel. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, because, you know, a happy gardener is one who shares. That's it for me. I am Q. This is my channel. I got green thumbs, and I will talk to you another time. I'm gonna go wash my hands. Bye.